Co-star auditions versus guest star auditions. Hey everyone, I'm Matthew Cornwell with Get Taped here in Atlanta, Georgia, one of Atlanta's first audition taping services. And now on to our topic. Co-stars versus guest stars. Whether you're new to acting or just the on-camera world, these terms have very specific meanings, especially in regards to television. Co-stars are generally the first roles you will book in your career. They're the smaller roles. Sometimes we call them utility roles. A lot of the time under 5 lines, and they don't generally affect the trajectory of the story that much. The guest star role, on the other hand, is more coveted by actors because oftentimes it comes with more money, but also the billing is considered better. Your name might appear in the opening credits, for instance. That's called a top-of-show guest star. And the role itself is going to generally affect the story and the main characters much more than a co-star role. But what I want to do today is generalize these two terms as it relates to auditions. Specifically, if I'm talking about a co-star audition, I'm talking about those roles that are under 5 lines that don't affect the trajectory of the story. And if I'm talking about guest star roles, it's the ones that have multiple scenes, possibly multiple episodes, and definitely affect the trajectory of the story and the main characters. So here's the point of this video. Know which type of role you are auditioning for. In other words, be careful that you don't give guest star reads for co-star auditions or co-star reads for guest star auditions. Let's look at the first scenario. And to do this, I'm going to use the footage from the 2 takes video that we've done previously on our channel. So be sure to check that out. I wrote a simple 1-page audition for a server who walks up to the table where the 2 leads are sitting, has a couple lines, and then leaves, never to be seen or heard from again for the rest of the story. So let's take a look at this first take, which would be an appropriate co-star read for a co-star audition. Who's ready for some dessert? Okay, I'll just go grab your check. Simple, appropriate, except for maybe those sideburns. So now let's see what happens when you give a guest star read for a co-star audition. Who is ready for some dessert? Chocolate cake, tiramisu. Okay. I'll just go grab your check then. It's more fun, of course, but it kills the pacing of the scene and makes all of the scene about me. But instead of impressing that casting director with how funny I am, how I can ad-lib some new lines to the scene, it could backfire if that casting director thinks that I'm doing too much for that co-star read. This behavior is understandable. Presumably you've been training for a while, right? And you finally got that awesome agent and the auditions are starting to flow into your inbox. And you've heard anecdotes of actors taking these 3 to 5 line roles and turning them into recurring roles, or they've gone from 1 day on set to 7 days on set, and you know you're a star. So all of this can add up and cause you to make the poor choice of doing a guest star read for a co-star audition. And the repercussions can be that if casting directors see this from you time and time again, they'll just stop calling you in for those types of roles. And it's not because they're saving you for the big roles, it's because they think that you don't know how to fit into the story. So be careful if you think that by showing everything you're capable of doing, it'll impress them down the road. It might not. So know that when you're doing a co-star audition, keep it simple. On the other hand, once you've got a few of those co-star roles under your belt, you've been doing this a few years, you're starting to see bigger auditions come into your inbox, don't make the mistake that I did years ago. I was preparing for a callback for a really nice role for a film, and I got a call from the casting director the day of the callback saying, Matt, I wanted to give you some feedback. Recently, in some of your self-tapes, I've noticed that you've been giving co-star reads for guest star auditions. And that made me really stop and think. First, I had to reconcile what that even meant. And then once I understood it, I realized exactly what had happened. I had become sort of complacent. I had been lulled into this routine of always doing less because the roles were generally smaller and these utility type co-star roles. So I had gotten really good at doing nothing on camera. And I was booking because it was appropriate for those roles. But now that the roles were growing in size, I wasn't stepping up my own acting game. And that was just a great, succinct way of putting it. And it made a lot of sense to me, and it really helped me at that moment in my career. So in short, Don't overdo those co-star roles, especially if you're newer to acting. You're not winning any awards. But if you're an experienced actor, make sure you're not underdoing it for those guest star reads. Because at least in the Southeastern market, you might go from a top-of-show guest star audition one day to a 3-line co-star read the next day. We're constantly flipping back and forth between these larger and smaller auditions. And so if you're not careful, if you're not paying attention, if you're not doing all your homework, you could end up giving a co-star read for a guest star audition or a guest star read for a co-star audition. As always, if you have any comments, please feel free to leave them below. And we'll also leave some helpful links in the description below. That's it for now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on set.